Alright, I'm going to go ahead and see if this is going to work. I'm going to transfer my mind over into yours, and let's see how this goes. I command you to make me a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Did it work?
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ready, set, go.
Alright, let's go ahead and do this, you guys. X-Men Dark Phoenix. Now, like I said before, and I'll say it again, busy summer, so I didn't really have a lot of time to do the majority of all the summer blockbuster films, my movie reviews off of them. So now that I got the chance and the opportunity, I went ahead, checked out the film, and now I'm doing my review off of it. So let's go ahead and do this, you guys. So Dark Phoenix, I mean, they're rebooting the story based off of the, according to Critic-Wise, the terrible tragedy of what we got with X-Men: The Last Stand. To be honest with you, I actually like The Last Stand. I mean, there's several aspects to the film that I wasn't really happy about, but it wasn't enough to where I could say it's the worst X-Men movie ever. No, but I could see where they're coming from as to where they wanted to, retell the story to the true nature from what was created when the story was first developed in the comic books. So, the director of this movie, Simon Kinberg, who happens to have been the original writer to X-Men: The Last Stand and several other X-Men films, other Fox films like the latest Fantastic Four back in 2015, or The Martian, even Deadpool. So Simon Kinberg had this opportunity to go ahead and become a part of this in particular film by becoming the director rather than having to be the writer and producer. But unfortunately, within production, they were working on having to making this a much more better, successful story, in favors to having to put aside and erase what we remember from X-Men: The Last Stand. But unfortunately, within that production frame, Fox had already sold the X-Men and all other Fox-related properties over to Disney Marvel Studios. So, in which cases, this is the final X-Men movie that we're going to get distributed by Fox. So, and it's kind of sad for me because I really did love the franchise, and it's going to be very exciting getting to seeing the X-Men in the MCU. But I've always grew very fond of this franchise. I'm a big, huge X-Men fan. I love all the characters. The characters are fun and fantastic. But it's just, it's going to be very different getting to see, a different set of cast members and a different story, different world being brought into a whole other franchise. So it's always interesting. Change always happens. But so it's going to be great. In this movie, we got the returning cast members like Sophie Turner, which is of course Jean Grey. If you ask me, I actually like a lot of Famke Janssen. I've always felt Famke Janssen was a much more better Jean Grey, even the Dark Phoenix. Besides Sophie Turner, I think Sophie Turner is a great actress. I mean, I'm not a big fan of Game of Thrones, but I did get to see her performance in several episodes. And I think that she's a good actress. Do I believe her to be this generation's Jean Grey? Not likely. Like I said, I'm still growing very fond of Famke Janssen. I think that she's the only Jean Grey for me. I mean, she's beautiful, she's talented, and I really would have loved to have seen more of her. James McAvoy comes back into this. It's very interesting because this movie takes place in 1992, but yet we don't get any 90s nostalgia in this, you know, and we just recently got the Captain Marvel movie that took place in the 90s, back in 95. We got a lot of 90s nostalgia in that movie that made you feel like you were literally watching a movie set place in the 90s. But unfortunately, when it came to this one, I didn't feel like I was watching a movie that was set place in the 90s. I know that they did several songs from the 70s back in a flashback of Jean Grey when she was a kid. They had some aspects there, but having to know that all these other rebooted X-Men films, First Class was based in the 60s. It felt like you were watching a film back in the 60s. Days of Future Past was in the 70s. You felt like you were watching it in the 70s. And even X-Men Apocalypse, which is one of the worst X-Men films, did have a lot of 80s nostalgia in it that made you feel like you were watching the film based back in the 80s. But this one, it did not feel like it was in the 90s. It felt more like it was just your modern day X-Men film. And I would have loved to have seen a lot of 90s nostalgia in this. I had a lot of fun with that subject when having to watch Captain Marvel. So I would have really loved to have seen that once more again in X-Men Dark Phoenix. But when it comes back to James McAvoy being part of this franchise once more again, I was actually confused with the fact that, okay, so since this is in the 90s, and the first X-Men film took place in the 2000s, so within 10-15 years later, he's gonna age from looking like a late 30-year-old man all the way to being an older gentleman in his 60s. So that really didn't make any sense. And these X-Men movies are like 10-year lapse. And they never age. They're all the same. They did give us a little bit of an example to the Jennifer Lawrence playing Mystique. That back in First Class, where they said that her skin will always look like the way it'll always look young. So that was a good explanation. But then you got also like Michael Fassbender and like I said, James McAvoy. Michael Fassbender, he comes back as Magneto, but he has a very small proportion of his part in this movie. He doesn't really have any significant importance of being part of this, only the fact that he is part of the X-Men. He's still the villain. He's still against Charles Xavier, and they always have this clash against each other, but yet still have a brotherhood between them. They had this special friendship, this bondship between them that have grown very apart and close together throughout the years. And so I always love that broship between the two. And Jennifer Lawrence, like I said, she's in this movie once more again. It's no surprise, we saw it in the trailers, even though they didn't really reveal it, but it was already leading to the fact that yes, Jennifer Lawrence, she's very much successful with her career right now, and she really doesn't have the time nor the patience of being put on that blue makeup anymore, and having to go through all those prosthetics and all that stuff like that. So, she's a very successful actress now, and she really doesn't want to do the X-Men franchise anymore. So, and in which case, of course, this is the last X-Men film by Fox, but yet she decided to go ahead and end her contract with them enough to say, hey, you know what, I'm done with this, kill me off. So, of course, which cases, yes, she does die within the film. Returning back after having to being part of the X-Men Apocalypse film is Ty Sheridan. I recently saw him last year with Ready Player One. Loved that movie. That was a great movie. And for a second there, it was really hard for me to visualize as to who this actor was. I know I've seen him somewhere before, and of course, it's Cyclops from X-Men Apocalypse. So I thought that he's a really great actor. And having to being James Marsden's Cyclops, you can't really tell the difference between the two. They look very similar. They are their own unique actor playing the same character, but in which case you can't really tell the difference between the time lapse. And Nicholas Hoult, of course, he comes back as Beast, and like I said, it's the same thing with all the other X-Men from the cast members from the original X-Men First Class. He hasn't aged, but yet within a 10-15 year lapse, he's going to be, Frasier, and I actually liked him a lot better being Beast. So, Alexandra Shipp, who plays Storm. I like Halle Berry. A lot of people had a complicated visualization as to Halle Berry being part of the X-Men as Storm, but I actually like Alexandra Shipp. She was really great in Apocalypse. You know, she has the Storm accent, and I really did like that. That was really cool. But it's always great having to see her in this. It's a fantastic time. You know what? Now that I think about it, because nowadays it's hard to accept the fact that since this is not Bryan Singer's X-Men movie anymore, you know, he only did X-Men United, Days of Future Past, and Apocalypse, but yet he doesn't come back for Dark Phoenix, you know. And so this movie, you would think that it would have the traditional X-Men theme that we all know from throughout the years. That's actually what I'm playing in the background right now. You would think that it would become a part of this movie. You know, I was really excited getting to hear that, you know, the X-Men theme playing it within this film. But unfortunately, it did not have its theme, and that's one of my favorite parts about these X-Men movies is the theme. I love the theme, but having it not being part of the film, it really kind of threw me off. And I think, you know, Hans Zimmer actually did the music, but he's one of my favorite composers of all time. But him having to be part of this, I didn't even know that he was a part of it. So, in which cases, the music wasn't really highly memorable. You know, I watched the movie a second time just so that I could absorb some of the music that's playing throughout the film. But unfortunately, there was nothing in the film that really caught my attention. So, and I'm like, really? And I thought that Hans Zimmer, I heard that Hans Zimmer really didn't want to be involved with superhero films anymore, you know, and you know, because he did so many different superhero films. I know he did The Amazing Spider-Man 2, Man of Steel. He did the Dark Knight trilogy, you know, and so you would think that, and I love all the music within those movies, but this one I didn't really find anything very memorable. Back to the castings here. Jessica Chastain. Oh my goodness, you know. Chapter 2 is coming out this evening. I'm actually going to go watch it right after this. And she's actually working alongside with also X-Men star James McAvoy. It's great getting to see those two work together in two separate films within the same year. But Jessica Chastain in this film, no. She's actually a, what do you call those things? From Captain Marvel. Oh my God, what are they called? The changeling things, you know? Skrulls. She's actually a Skrull, but they don't actually name these characters Skrulls because, of course, that's a Marvel property, MCU property owned by them, and so they can't really use that into the X-Men films. So they're just pretty much just aliens that can shapeshift into, you know, all these other different characters. So this one decided to become Jessica Chastain, and you know, they have this sort of plan. You know, they're after the Dark Phoenix for some in particular reason. It's a kind of a stupid reason. I really didn't grow attached to it, so it wasn't enough to where I can actually accept that as being, you know, that's the thing. That's what I'm talking about, is that this is the final X-Men movie, but yet they didn't really put a lot of hard effort into this. You know, they didn't really make it enough to where they're concluding this 20-year-long story franchise into, you know, one big circle. Because the way I really would have loved this movie to end is if because this movie is the first X-Men movie that does not feature not even a cameo appearance of Hugh Jackman as the Wolverine, because of course Hugh Jackman retired his mantle of playing the Wolverine in Logan 2 years ago. So of course we weren't going to be getting any significant cameos from him being a part of this last X-Men film, but it would have been great just seeing at least just one more. You know, it's great getting to seeing all these X-Men different characters and everything like that, but it's not an X-Men film without Wolverine. You gotta have the Wolverine in it. But like I'm saying, you know, at the ending of the film, I'm gonna throw it out there. You know, the movie's already been out for several times. You know, I already know it's gonna be on digital and Blu-ray digital copies. So, you know, you guys should already know this. Is that, yeah, Jean Grey gets killed off in this one too. But yet it's like, okay, remember in Days of Future Past when Logan returns back to his future time and everybody that died is back alive. You know, you got Jean Grey, Cyclops is back, Professor Xavier, everybody's alive. So you're just like, okay, so Jean Grey died in the 90s, but yet in the 2020s, Jean Grey's alive. So I'm just like, okay, so how does that all work out? You know, because we're not going to get another X-Men film, so why in the world are we ending this with a sort of cliffhanger as to, you know, we're going to find out what happens in the next film? There's not going to be a next film. So I really do wish that they would have put some more effort into this film being its final film, because they know it was their final film, but didn't happen to do that. So I was a little bit disappointed by that. Alright, so this is no surprise here, because Rotten Tomatoes gave this movie a 23%. So like I said, I'm not surprised. The movie had some good aspects to it. You know, I was really interested, and it did pull me into several details of the movie, but unfortunately, I have to agree. I mean, it deserves a very low rating of a 23%. But like I said, I'm a big, huge X-Men fan. I really do admire all these characters and all the cast that put a lot of hard work and effort into making these characters very highly memorable and in a fantastic cast. I mean, don't get me wrong, they are a fantastic cast. I don't feel like I'm watching James McAvoy or Jennifer Lawrence or Michael Fassbender here. You know, I literally feel like I'm watching the X-Men here. I'm still a fan of the traditional, original X-Men. You know, Halle Berry, Hugh Jackman, Famke Janssen, James Marsden, Patrick Stewart, Ian McKellen. You know, I'm a big fan of those a lot more. But it's always great just getting to seeing the younger version. You know, I still consider them being the X-Men. But when it comes to my percentage, I give it a good 51%. I like the movie, but there's a lot about it that I really do dislike. But since I'm a huge X-Men fan and I do admire the story, I was following along with it. I didn't feel confused. I didn't feel bored. I felt very interested. It pulled me into a significant amount to where it gained my interest. So 51% that I give to X-Men Dark Phoenix. So that concludes my movie review towards this film. What did you guys think? Did you guys check out X-Men Dark Phoenix? If not, go ahead and check it out when it comes out on digital, Blu-ray, DVD copy. So just go ahead and do that. After when so, check out my video. Let me know what you guys think. If you have any other further questions, comments, complaints, or concerns, go ahead and leave that in the comment section in the bottom and let me know what you guys think, because I love to talk about movies, but more importantly, I love to talk about them with you. And don't forget that you can check out some more of my videos on Facebook and on YouTube. Just look me up at Awesome Joe Movie Reviews. Don't forget to click on the like and subscribe button. It's highly appreciative of you guys supporting the channel. I really do appreciate it, you guys. You can check out some more of my movie reviews, trailer reviews, movie commentary, so on and so forth. It's highly entertaining, so I highly appreciate that, you guys. But other than that, I'm Awesome Joe. Keep on living the dream, and as always, stay awesome. Thanks you guys once more again, and I will see y'all in the next video.